We go. We should be live. Just wait for that to come up on here. All right, we are live, Steve. Hello.
Hey,
We got some folks tuning in already. Turn your radio down, caller. There we go. Welcome. Good evening. And this is the part of the year that's like, between between Christmas and New Year's where you don't know what day it is and you're full of cheese. I saw a meme that said that, and it was like, yeah, that's pretty true. Um, yeah.
excellent choice in t-shirts, by
Oh
the
yeah,
way. This
yeah,
was not
that's right.
this was not planned.
Wasn't planned. Um,
So
Steve, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that this is going to be by far my favorite show. That I have to ask the question: did you bring your entire record collection for show and tell today?
yes, I did. But here's the thing. I ended up taking a lot of it, and it helped me organize a little bit too.
Oh,
So
okay,
yeah.
awesome.
So it worked out well, baby.
Just want to say hey to Oldies Radio. Oldies Radio. It is an awkward week for sure, and
And we're only gonna make it more awkward. So stay tuned.
a chunk in the trunk. Hello, good evening. Thank you for tuning in. So, um, if you couldn't tell, right, because of the title, I figured that we'd start, maybe naming these so people would know what the heck we're talking about.
Hey,
Uh,
what's the topic for the evening? It's like you're just gonna have to stick around and get through our ramblings
that's
and
right. That's
get
right.
a semblance of a show.
We are going to be talking bootlegs tonight. Probably by far one of my favorite subjects. I love live music. Steve,
Having
Steve,
I'm like 18 feet tall. I'm sorry.
you're good. You're good. I can
All
adjust
right.
this here. Um, Here I'm gonna make myself just a little bit taller,
Sorry.
just so we're
Sorry. It'll fall again and then I'll move it around.
not. Yeah. I love live music, and bootleg records are just that kind of beautiful thing about record collecting and just enjoying music in general. Um,
Well, I think there's three facets to it. Number
okay.
one, you said the collecting aspect, certainly, because there's different variants, there's different shows, there's different labels, there's all that. Number two is these are for the ultra fan, right? Like if you have all their official stuff, you just want a little bit more. So it satisfies that urge too. But then also there's just a market of these range of records that you can just about pick out really important ones from bands that you want. Like every single big band has a seminal bootleg, right?
Yeah.
So there's the Rolling Stones liver than you'll ever be.
Well, well, before I think maybe we can preface it a little bit before we just start getting into the checklist, right? I want to. Do you have anything for show and tell? First off, did you want?
Yes, I do.
I
Yes,
mean,
I do.
just stuff that you're listening to this week. Let's get that out of the way.
So I was
Or is it just all bootlegs that you were listening to?
yes, but in between, there was some. So I've been kind of playing a lot of old favorites.
Okay.
Christmas time. It's kind of one of those. It's hectic for everybody for different reasons, and it's. I didn't really have the time to absorb anything except one record that I'm going to get into here. But the first one I've been listening to a lot is Idris Muhammad. This is the Power of Soul. Are you familiar with this?
No. So enlighten me. Is
So
it
this
jazz
is
or what?
it is it is
Okay.
it is it's got a great lineup. You've got Bob James and Grover Washington Jr. Who play on this record, and led by a drummer, and he is the absolute king of groove. He is so good and just constantly in the pocket. This is really great. He's got several solo albums out there, but this one I listened to probably 10 times last week.
Hmm.
It's only about 40 minutes or so, but it's all solid. So if you're into kind of, fusion jazz. I mean, just kind of Bob James stuff. It's more of the same. It's not as kind of out there as stuff like Tony Williams and things like that. It's a little more concise and a little more funk. So if you're into that, definitely check this out. That's a really good one.
So we'll say one thing about that I know about Bob James. I'm not really the biggest jazz fan. I have a few records that are. I mean, I have sort of like the cornerstones of the jazz collection. I don't really sort of stray outside of that. Shame on me, I guess. But
really, come on.
It's just something I don't really, you know what I mean. Like it's not. There was a certain time in my life that I was really into jazz. And then it was just sort of like it's not something that I seek out. Records are very expensive. Jazz records are super expensive, and if you want original copies of it, it's just like it's just maddening how expensive they are. So not necessarily the most cost-effective way to go about doing things. But Bob James, I remember like that one record that he has the football on it. I remember seeing
Touchdown.
Okay, I remember that. Speaking of which, I think we should take a moment of silence for
John Madden,
who just passed away. Well, they announced it about maybe an hour or so ago. So God rest that guy's soul. Definitely spent
absolutely.
Quite a few of my earlier years playing Madden 94 on Sega.
And quite a few frustrations with your friends and,
right.
Growing fights would ensue.
Right. And it was always a little bit better than, of course, fighting over who got, the Raiders on Tecmo Bowl and got Bo Jackson and then just completely obliterated everybody. But nice connection there with Bob James, Touchdown. So I didn't know that was the name of that record, but I used to see that record all the time.
It's a good one.
It's good? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's smooth jazz. Like, it's got the Angela theme from Taxi, which is a great show.
Okay,
I love Taxi.
Okay.
That's on there. The song Touchdown's on there. If you like smooth jazz and things like that, this is not as smooth, but it's not is I don't want to like,
right. You don't want to
it's not. It's a little bit more guitar heavy to an extent than it is smooth jazz. But yeah, it's one that I really enjoyed. All right. Here's a record that I got a friend of mine I used to work with at one record store now works at Papa Jazz, and every Friday he puts up, hey, what are y'all listening to? And people comment and things like that. And somebody posted this album, and I said, what in the world is this? So I YouTubed it. And I absolutely was blown away. The artist name is Eugene McDaniels, and it's Headless Heroes of the Apocalypse.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's a great albm.
Do you know this record?
I have it. Yeah, it's a great album.
Dude, this completely blew me. This is everything. It's jazz, it's funk, it's rock, it's folk. Excuse me. It's absolutely just was. It sounds like a soundtrack to like an exploitation film of like the early 70s, and I mean that in the best way possible. This is fantastic.
What is the bit? There's one song on there that's like just this huge like sampled. There's a great story about that. So, Questlove, right? From the Roots.
Yes,
okay.
I was just going to say, if you like the Roots, this is a lot. This is, I would say, a huge influence on the Roots. Absolutely.
So there's a great video of him that he's showing off his record collection. I don't know if you know this. Questlove's parents were in like a 70s soul band. Did you know this?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, so he was sort of born into this like amazing, soul record collection, and he was talking about he was DJing one time, and he had that record, and I think there was like a car wreck or something like that, and one of his boxes of records came out, and that was one of the ones that, because that like original copies of that are pretty pricey. For
well, the CD's out of print too. I was able to snag a copy for like $10 on Amazon.
Okay,
but like I looked up the record there at the record shop, and they're like, yeah, we can get a new copy in, but it's $40.
Yeah. I forget this. I have the I do have it on. I have a vinyl repress that I got a half price.
Okay.
Book. One of the early half price book scores that I got. I'll have to dig it out for you.
Yeah, please.
But so Questlove was in this he was in this wreck, and so that record, like all the records were okay, but that was the one that like it shattered, and and he was like, from that point on, he was like. He was like, I wasn't a record snob anymore. I wasn't like, oh, I got to have the original copy, because that was the moment to him where he realized like I can buy a reissue of this and that's okay if I'm DJing it, because it might get damaged. So it's better
Yeah.
that this is like your phone. So let me read some of the comments here. Yes, Frank Caliendro as John Madden. That was what I was trying to emulate there. Boom, tough acting, to acting. So yeah, yeah. Yep, yeah. So he said, I'm amazed when I get Victor 2800 Series 78. Those are pricey. I don't really know too much about 78's oldies radio, but I do know that the Red Seal ones are pretty amazing. What classical records and things like that. Those are the ones that there's some good quality listening on there. So, but yeah, Steve, that's a great.
This is amazing.
I'm trying to think. There's something that's on there that's like sampled. I can't remember.
I mean, everything. Probably, I don't know. Jagger the Dagger has got a pretty good. I mean, all of these can. That's the thing about this record is all of it could be sampled.
Okay.
It's all hooky. It's all great. It's all funk. It's just an amazing album. Just a really great record.
Very cool.
Well, and last but certainly not least, this is a band that I have been listening to a lot lately, and I could have picked one of their more famous records, but I've really been listening to this band's almost entire discography for the past couple of weeks, and the band is Spirit, and the album is Clear. This is more of a blues take on the first handful of records than it is psychedelic.
Okay.
Really good, really interesting. I just can't say enough good things about Spirit, and eventually Mark and I have talked about it. I do want to do a deep dive.
Yeah, we'll do a big show about them. I think they're definitely a band that is worth mentioning. I mean, they have a huge catalog. You see their albums pretty frequently. I mean, you don't?
I used to.
Okay.
I used to. I used to see 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus and the first record. I don't want to say regularly, but it wasn't often. But now I don't see their stuff come up too much. It seems like, if you're into that kind of music, that's something you don't necessarily grow out of, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I think those records are like, people will keep and have. And they're just an incredibly under the radar band, so to speak. Like, I don't think they're underground and they're not obscure, but I just think they're one of those bands that just kind of falls through the cracks unfairly.
Well, I think they're hard to sort of hard to categorize. I mean, you can be like, yeah, they're sort of like San Francisco psychedelic, but they're not, you know what I mean? Like,
they're more jazz based, but then they've also got a blues tinge to them as well.
So it's hard to group them. So we will talk about them because as you know, but I'll let the folks watching. There is a reissue coming out of the 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus on the Cherry Red label that has pretty much a full show from 1970. So of course, here we go. It fits right into what we're going to talk about. And yes, so yeah, do I have that on CD? Do I have it on vinyl? Yes, but I'm going to buy a third copy because it's something that I definitely want to hear. You know what I mean? Like, they're just one band that just they don't really have a live album. Like, they do, but they don't. So they don't really have.
Well, they've got several borderline unofficial releases, right, which is another tie-in, Mark.
Right. Exactly.
To what we're talking about. So they've got several. I mean, they're kind of one of those things. I don't even know what's an official release or what's on a label out of somebody's garage. Like, they've got their discography is huge as far as borderline illegal releases.
Well, I think once they left Epic, right? So once that contract sort of ended, there's the first five, maybe 5 or 6 feed up.
Yeah, and then they got on Mercury.
Then they got on Mercury, and
they just kind of were. Yeah, I mean, the whole journey is, make up and break up, and Randy California has been a consistent member through that entire band. Mm-hmm. But it's a very interesting story, and there's lots of twists and turns and all that. We'll get into that. That is something you and I have talked about, and something that I told you today that I'm going to do a huge deep dive into them and present that and bring that to the show. So if you're interested in knowing the history of Spirit,
stay tuned.
Stick around.
It'll probably be I'm thinking late February or March.
We'll have that coincide with the reissue of 12 Dreams.
Sounds great. So anything else for show and tell?
That's it. I think I'm going to keep it contained.
Okay. All right. I'm just gonna show I'm just gonna go two, and then we can sort of talk about some of the other things that I'm listening to. We'll sort of tie that into the theme,
Okay.
bootlegs, that we're talking about. So looks like we got a handful of people on. So hey, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Come
you.
say hi, drop a comment if you want to. We're gonna talk heavy duty bootlegs tonight. So, but so what I've been listening to, we'll start off with. So Steve, this is a band that I don't really know much about other than I'm talking about Commander Cody,
Okay.
Lost in the Ozone, Lost Planet Airmen. So I think that you probably know Hot Rod Lincoln, right? Would you say?
Yes.
Okay, so like that's sort of like to use
Don't
the
ask me to name any more anything else by
exactly
those guys.
to use the Marshall Tucker band sort of kind of thing, like okay, that's like the one Commander Cody song that right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just they're a band that I see their records, and I don't know much about them. I don't of course I know that they played a lot at the Fillmore. They did a lot of the West Coast stuff. So I was like, I think now's a good time to sort of get into them. And um, there's a tune on here called Seeds and Stems again, which is you can
What's
probably
that about?
you can probably guess
Gardening?
gardening. Yeah, you can probably guess what that song's about. And that was I heard that song and I was like, man, I gotta get this. I gotta listen to these guys. So I think the best way to describe them is they are that West Coast like hippie sound, but it's kind of like how Sha Na was like looking back at like the 50s like rock and roll. These guys were sort of looking at like Western swing and like barrel house and blues and like that sort of the Bakersfield kind of Texas sound. So, but they were hippies. So it was like it didn't fit into sort of that Sweetheart of the Rodeo thing, but there's like a dotted line to it. You know what I mean? Like so I think
So we're
if you like Sweetheart of the Rodeo, you'll probably enjoy this. But it's like it's almost like it's kind of like between like Sweetheart of the Rodeo and like Jimmy Buffett, like his
ooh.
first like living and dying in three-quarter time, and like yeah, like they're the songs are just really sort of they're kind of
Do
yeah.
they do a cover of like Fins with like a banjo
No,
and a
they don't.
washboard?
No.
No.
But it's like that sort of just I don't know, just kind of I don't know. I don't know.
They're
It's
hard to
hard to, yeah,
categorize,
they're hard to
right?
categorize. Exactly.
They really are. So I don't blame you there.
Oh, Craig's on. He said if I found my headphones sooner, would have joined in the beginning. Hey, Craig.
Craig, what's
Um,
up? How are you?
let's see here. Yeah, we're talking bootlegs, Craig. But first, we're talking doing show and tell. But so Commander Cody, Lost in the Ozone. But yeah, they're just sort of like the songs about like sort of like getting drunk and sort of like that like just kind of floating around in a haze, kind of almost New Riders of the Purple Sage, right? So they're kind of like they're in there too. I was listening to Power Glide this week. I don't know if you have that
Okay.
album. That's I'll bring that next week and we can talk a little bit more about it. But
I played their first album this week
I did okay.
or last week, I guess.
So it kind of fits. It kind of fits in there. Sort of it's like right around. It's right around in there, but not exactly. So yeah, if you like maybe the first couple of New Riders of the Purple Sage albums, you'll like this too. I'm not sure where else I'm going to kind of go from this. Well, actually, I do. But after this next record I'm going to show you, I don't really know where I'm going from there. So, Steve, you know that I was going to show this. So
I figured.
this is the Bears Sonic Journals. Rowsley Stanley. It's called Found in the Ozone, Commander Cody and His Lost Planet Airmen. So this is actually there's a whole show from 1970, March 28th. Then there's like a handful of tracks from March 29th, and then another disc of just sort of all kinds of stuff from March 27th, and then also February 27th. So you do get like a full concert. They're opening up for the Grateful Dead in this, which obviously that's why Bear recorded it. And there's the crazy thing too is like so there's 41 tracks on here, and
Good Lord.
there's like I want to say there's like 38 to 39 unique tracks. Like there's no repeats, which is
Oh,
really
wow.
cool. And it almost might even be 41.
How many discs is it?
it is two.
Three?
It's two.
Two.
But their songs are short. They're like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
3 minutes, 4 minutes. But yeah, just a two disc. If you check out anything,
So
Oh, go ahead.
Are they like they a country Ramones?
So here's some of the tracks on here that so they do like Jambalaya on the Bayou. They do Matchbox, Long Black Limousine, Only Daddy That'll Walk the Line. So Waylon Jennings cover. Truck Driving Man. They do Sleepwalk, Santo and Johnny.
Oh wow.
Blue Suede Shoes. They do Mama Tried. Hot or Brigham Sail Block 9. Rip It Up. Lordy Miss Claudie. Um, Long Gone Daddy, Big River, Stranded in the Jungle, Baby Let's Play House. So you get the idea, right? So there's sort of like this kind of the country sort of, that sort of area, the outlaw country, sort of before it was labeled outlaw country. But like I said, this was like a year and a half even before their debut. This one came out, so it's kind of interesting to listen to. Like, okay, this is sort of what they were doing before they became that band. And I think this is one of the reasons why it was really hard to classify them, because it was just like, okay, you're playing all these country covers, like this is the band that like when Grateful Dead started doing like Big River and Mama Tried and stuff like that, like this was the band they were trying to be. You know what I mean? Like
Oh wow.
they
Yeah.
wanted they
Okay.
wanted to be like, okay, hey, let's do these. And again, Commander Cody was able to do it, it really good. So yeah, that's that. These are great. I got the Allman Brothers one. I have the New Riders of the Purple Sage one. They have a Hot Tuna one out. There's a Doc Watson
That
one.
one, yes. I listened to that Hot Tuna one. I streamed it. That's one I'm gonna buy. That wow, that thing smokes.
And then they
It
also
was
have
really good.
They also have a Johnny Cash one that just came out maybe a couple weeks ago. So Johnny Cash at the Fillmore. So it's like at first I was like, yeah, you know what, I don't need that. But it's like, man, this could be like a Folsom Prison like part two. Like like Folsom Prison and San Quentin. Like those are two of my favorite Johnny Cash records.
Sure.
Like I want to hear what he sounds like at the Fillmore. So here we go, bootlegs. So in somewhat official, with the band's blessing, right? Here's one that's like an official live album, right? So how did we get here in 2021 where this is where we are? Like that this is money? Money?
Of
Okay.
course.
Talk to me,
Of course.
Steve.
What else are they going to turn out?
Okay.
Of course. They capital. They see the money that bootlegs are making, and they want a slice of that pie. They don't want the record stores and Joe with the stuff, and a cardboard box coming in there. Yeah, they want it in their pockets, man. So yeah, they're going to release anything and everything.
Oldies Radio got Folsom Prison on reel to reel. That's incredible.
That's pretty awesome.
And then he said jam band dudes probably have the most bootlegs. Yes, we will talk about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then Craig says, guess I should check on Commander Cody. Never really gave him a listen before. Craig, that's why you're here, man. That's why you're here. That's why you're here, right? So yes, I would say check them out. I think if you like Grateful Dead and you like New Riders and things like that, like they're worth checking out. So, but what we want to talk about, Steve, this hit my mailbox, and
it will hit mine shortly. I
okay.
will order that.
Okay, so this is for everybody that's watching. If you love bootlegs or you really want to devour bootlegs, this needs to be in your music library. The underground story of the legendary bootleg record label. This is all about the trademark of quality record label, and I have just been absolutely devouring this book. I sat down and read like the first 50 pages, which really only gets you up to the second release that they ever did. But it is phenomenal. Just they have pictures. Here's the lead sheets. There's the Led Zeppelin Blueberry Hill. Do you have that one, Steve? I found my thrill. Oh,
This one?
That's
This
it.
one?
That's it, man. Is that the record you're talking about? There you go. Flex it, Steve. Let me see it.
See, this is going to be my episode to flex a little bit.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
So yes.
But this book it retails for about, I think, I don't remember. I got a discount with mine. I think that you can probably get it for anywhere from about $42 to about $50. And if you love this kind of stuff, I sure it's on the internet, but sometimes you just need to sit on your couch and not look at your phone. So This is
Sound advice.
this is incredible. Like it is. They talk about. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing for you, but they talk about how the bootleg thing started, and it all started with a little album called "The Great White Wonder" by Bob Dylan. Steve.
You mean this one?
Oh man, I have. See, I have. I, I have one that is, and I should have probably put these in order. I do have one. I have one part of the Great White Wonder, right? But I don't have both. I don't have the double. I don't have that. How much did you pay for that? Let me just ask.
$25, and what is that? Looks like October of 2012, I think.
So it would adjusting for inflation, that would probably be $75 now.
Oh, at least, yeah, at least.
I have this one too. That's it's called A Rare Batch of Little White Wonder. So the story goes that there was a couple of guys, and they were working at this record distribution plant in Los Angeles, and it's sort of like Alliance Entertainment, our good friends at Deep Discount. They get import CDs, Sound of Vinyl, all those different websites. That they would get all of their records, and they would have mom and pop stores that would come to them and say, okay, I need 2 copies of this Beatles album, or X amount of copies of this, whatever. So that those mom and pop stores weren't buying 10 copies of an album that was garbage, and then they would just eat them. So of course that's how it worked back then, right? So they would just order from this warehouse. And in 1969, Nashville Skyline came out, and 2 guys that worked at the warehouse were sort of like, this album is pretty terrible. Like I like earlier Bob Dylan, and I don't like what he's doing with this. And so they were like, well, I got some tapes that somebody gave me that were these rare songs, and another guy said, yeah, I got that too. So they went and they put together, what is on there, 24 some tracks or something like that. No,
Something like that.
21,
Yeah, I don't have a track
21 to
listing on the back.
24 or something like that, right? So they go and they get a loan from one of their friends. They buy the blank the white paper sleeves, and they get these pressed up. They had a plant where they were just like, they didn't want to step on anybody's toes. Hey, this is a Bob Dylan record, whatever the case may be. So they were like, just put it on a blank label, and we'll be done with it, right? And then they went around to all these different stores that were in the LA area, in really Southern California in general, and they tried to basically sell all these records, right? Or say like, hey, I got these rare tracks from Bob Dylan that you can't hear anywhere else. We have this album. Do you want to buy it? And some people will be like, yeah, we'll take 2, we'll take 3, whatever. So they go up to talk to, at the time it was like the LA Free Press, and which they were sort of like a head shop, and you could get your incense, and they sold records and things like that. And they were like, are you interested in this? And of course, Bob Dylan, the voice of the generation, and all the the people that are the underground people, usually looked to Bob Dylan to be the voice of reason, and to kind of move them through the revolution, right? And so they're like, yeah, we'll take them all. So at that point they started just they would sell them there. They put them in a paper, and then like Rolling Stone picked it up and was like, yeah, this is awesome. And that's how this sort of thing all began. There's an interesting part of the story where these 2 guys that they knew made like a dupe of it. They bootlegged the bootleg, and they were like, yeah, we're the guys distributing the Great White Wonder. Well, of course, when Dylan's lawyers and stuff like that were like cracking down on these
Yeah,
guys,
I imagine so.
they were the ones that they served time. Because they pleaded guilty to it. They're like, yeah, we're the ones that did it. And the actual guys that made it were like, they kept the low profile. They were smart about it. They weren't bragging about how much they were making on the albums and things like that. So that's like the first.
Yeah, who couldn't see that coming?
So that's like the first 25 pages of that book, and then they go in and they talk about the second release, which was the Liver Than Your Ever Be. So you have that album too, right? You have that one?
I on CD, I do
You
not
have it on
have
CD. Okay.
a vinyl
Okay.
vinyl copy of it, but yes, that's on par with Get Your Yayas Out. You know, it's that good.
So they talk about how that this was the first album where they said, we're gonna, the Stones are coming to town, and they were like, we're gonna see him in Oakland, we're gonna see him at the Forum, and then they were like, we're gonna see him in Arizona. And I think that the majority of that show, I think, is the Oakland show, which
Yes,
I think that the Blueberry Hill, that one is also, I think, at the Forum. I think that one's in Oakland as well too.
it's yes.
So that was sort of their, like, their sort of stomping grounds for like getting the records together and to do the shows. But there's a lot of really funny things about the story where they're flying to Arizona, and it's Dennis Hopper and Jim Morrison are going to this Rolling Stone show, and
Holy smokes!
they land, and like Jim Morrison gets out of the plane in handcuffs because he was like already drunk on the plane ride, and he apparently he like threw something at one of the stewardess, and that was considered assault. So he was like taken off the plane in handcuffs. Um, when they get to Arizona, uh, I guess Sam Cutler sees them with like the microphone, and he like tries to grab, the microphone off one of the guys that was recording the show. And yeah, it's crazy to think about, that there was somebody that said, "Hey, let's put, let's put a bootleg together and get this out there." So it's a great book. So I would highly suggest it if you're into that kind of thing, right? Which I think we all are. So
Well, and another book I'd like to suggest is
okay,
Bootleg: The Secret History of the other recording industry. It's much of the same. It kind of talks just a little bit about the early days, but then also goes up into current. I think this is, when did this come out? I want to say in the mid '90s or so. That '94 is when this came out. So
okay,
yeah, it's not super duper up to date or anything like that, but it's still a fun read along those same kind of subjects.
yeah. Craig was saying locally, hardly see boots around here. Seen a few over the years in shops. Nothing to write home about. Most of the boots have been from downloads. Um, so yeah, I think that one part about the bootlegs existing in the time frame. So you think of 1969, basically summer of '69 is when all this sort of started, and I think we really run pretty much up to the cassette era, and then at that point then it becomes sort of like the VHS era where somebody's sneaking a VHS camera into a show, and
Well,
and that becomes sort of the next thing, right? um, and of course you have the cassettes, like where people were talking about how they would put on their home taping is killing the music industry, right? Like, and that was a thing, right? Like I'm sure you've seen it before. Like
oh yeah,
they put
oh
that
yeah.
on tapes, right? Um, but I think there's always sort of been that, like, the us versus them.
Didn't Alternative Tentacles put out like something where they said like they had that message on there, but and then they said like we left side two blank so
Blank,
you can
yeah, yep,
help.
that was
Yeah,
it. Yep, exactly. Yep, yep. So yeah, there was I think that was, yeah, I don't remember what it was. Something I think Dead Kennedys related or something like that.
yeah.
But yeah. But I think the interesting thing to me, in the lore of bootlegs, I feel that there's either you get it or you don't. Like
Right.
there's people that are just, they can't enjoy bootleg recordings, or it's just not for them. Like they have to have sort of that, I want to hear the stereo or the regular stereo studio album. I don't want to hear something that's like a live concert or whatever. But for me, I think that there's that phrase that the best album out there is the one that you haven't heard yet, right? I feel like that's, in my mind, that's that constant push to find new music and find something that I haven't heard before. Like it's like, at this point we've been listening to the same records for 30 years or whatever the case may be. So there's always sort of that, like, excitement about finding a new live album or something like that. So how about you, Steve? What's the draw with bootlegs for you?
Well, to kind of piggyback on what you said and to expound a little bit, if it's a coat pocket recording, it's almost like being at that concert, right? It's almost like being at that concert in someone's coat pocket, maybe, but it's almost like being at that concert, and you get a taste of that band, what it would be like to be in the audience on that given night.
Yeah.
So that in just the allure of hearing like, well, maybe this song was like in 75 in Chicago, Led Zeppelin played When the Levee Breaks, the one and only time.
Okay.
So hearing songs that weren't played very much, or in some instances played just one time, is the allure as well. But then also, again, like I said, just hearing that band completely unfiltered without any studio touch-ups. I mean, it's warts and all. Here it is live. And I think that satisfies that. Well, where do you go? We talk about that in lots of different cases, but to expand on this subject, where do you go from there? You've got the studio stuff, you've got the officially released live stuff. If you're still hungry for more, that's the perfect avenue to go down. Right.
There's always like that. I've always enjoyed bonus tracks, and I've always enjoyed just sort of hearing, it's cool to hear the band's sort of evolution, or, what they sounded like live. And I think that a lot of that, those, the 60s really sort of changed that, where we started seeing a lot of these bands kind of say like, okay, here's my live album. So if you think about Got Live If You Want It by the Stones, I don't know where that sort of lines up in like the earliest live rock recordings, but I would guess that was probably one of the first.
I would agree.
Like, I really can't think of anything that came out before that wasn't
like the Kinks live.
I think that's right around the same time. I feel like that's like 1966 or maybe 65. What was that? Kelvin Hall, I think, is what that recording is from.
Right. Maybe so. I think so.
I feel like that was like a pseudo. Again, in the Stones may be the same way. I don't really know the exact, if it was okay. Hey, let's just try to record a live album like it's our live show, right? But as the 60s sort of ended, that was definitely a thing, right? You think about, of course, some of our favorite albums, MC5, Kick Out the Jams, the live adventures of Al Kooper and Mike Bloomfield. What am I missing here, Steve? There's a ton. You know what I mean?
Well, you've got, of course, Get Your Yayas Out. I think that was kind of a rite of passage for some bands, right? You need the live album. You need your, at Fillmore East. You right? You need those albums. Live Dead. You need those albums to kind of cement.
Right.
Yeah. So you need those albums to kind of cement your legacy, so to speak. To capture you at your creative peak live. You need that record.
Right. The Doors absolutely live, right? So we can tell that there's, folks are having a taste for, let's hear what the band can do live, and sort of emulate. This is what it's like going to the show.
Yeah, correct. Live at Leeds, of course. Yeah.
Right.
How did we miss that one?
But and the best part about talking about that album, I should have pulled that out so we could kind of talk about it, is if you think about the cover art on there, it sort of becomes where you have, the way that bootleg records were designed, they didn't really have the name of the band. A lot of times there was sort of like the secret code that you had to speak, to get, hey, do you got the Great White Wonder, right? You didn't ask for, hey, do you got that new Bob Dylan bootleg record or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, you referred to it as that, where, they would record it that way. They wouldn't put the labels on it. So there was really like this sort of like hush hush, behind the counter kind of thing. And I think that that's special, right? It's special. Like, you feel like you're in sort of like a club, Yeah.
When we stopped selling bootlegs at the record store I worked at, because we had a scare with it. And so, my boss said, put them all in the back.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This was in like 2006.
Okay.
And we stopped selling those shortly before I worked there. And I happened to be cleaning up in the back, and I found this cardboard box, and I opened it, and there were bootleg CDs in it, a ton of Pearl Jam. It was like 90% Pearl Jam, 2% Pink Floyd. And like the other stuff was like I'm trying to think, like new metal butt rock bands like Down and Disturbed and
Okay.
like all this kind of stuff. It's like, wow, these didn't sell, you know. But they had like Pink Floyd Oakland show from '77, which is amazing. So I was able to get that and a couple other ones out of there. And they told me, they said, yeah, we had somebody come through the label and they seized a couple of them, and they didn't fine us or anything, but they took a couple of them. So they've literally just been sitting in the back there. So you kind of had to be like, we didn't sell those, but like if there was somebody we knew, you know, or that would kind of ask about some stuff like that, we would take them in the back and kind of sell them that. But yeah, you had to really know your record store employees or be really tight with somebody or whatnot, because you know you're buying an illegal substance, right?
Right. But really,
So you know,
how illegal is it, right? Like that's the thing, that there's just sort of that you know, not really knowing where that line is, like what is legitimate and what's not, right? So like, what's the,
well,
you know,
uh, Neil Young did that too. There's I
that's a
forget
great
what
video.
clip
Yes,
is from.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
He
On
like,
that rainy night, he goes into a record store
he's
and
like,
there's like
what
this
do you got
young
here?
clerk.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, yeah, they got that young clerk
And
in
he's like,
there.
I'm just
You
taking
know,
these. I'm just gonna
yeah,
take
and
these
he
because they're
does.
mine.
He goes. These are all mine. I'm taking these, and he's like, well, you got to pay for them. He goes, no, I'm taking these. They're mine. And he says, go ahead and call your boss. And he calls his boss in the middle of the night. It's just, so Neil walks out with like these 15 records under his arm and all that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the legality of it, I mean, I don't, I would assume it's, I mean, it's pirated recordings, right?
Right. Right. Well, and again,
So,
I think, you know, that as far as with copyright, you know, the copyright laws and things like that, that belongs to the artist. Um,
can you record Monday Night Football and stream it someplace? Not without their express written consent. You can't.
right.
They tell you every commercial break.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, you know, again, there's that, you know, it's for the private home use, right? It's for you, like, you can't say, hey, let's go ahead and, you know, do this. And it reminds me of a story. Um, so Sam, a few years ago, was working at an art museum, and I kind of like pitched the idea that, like, let's have like a movie night where we show really bad movies and see what happens. But of course, there's that, you can't do that, right? Because you can't, because you're basically broadcasting it, right? You can't just say
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever. So yeah, it's, you know, there's that weird,
It's silly.
there's that weird, you know, kind of thing where you live outside of the law. And um yeah, I don't know, do you, it's difficult. And I think that, you know, we obviously with the Grateful Dead mindset, where, you know, once the band plays the music, it belongs to the fans. But you know, I think in certain years that's changed, where of course on archive.org you can't download you know, you can't download any of the music. But you know, now they're like, yeah, you can stream it, but it's ours, right? But before, you used to be able to just go in there and be like, yeah, I'm going to download this,
Oh yeah.
download
Oh
this.
yeah.
So,
Quite a bit.
so yeah, Steve, I know you really haven't gone to a lot of shows, but have you ever tried to bootleg a show? Have you ever thought about it, or tried to like do it?
I have. In fact, I have bootlegged a show. The Doobie Brothers in 2000. Stop it.
Okay.
I had a co-pocket recording, and my friend Arnold. No, wait, that was from What's Happening. I'm sorry. It's a terrible joke. All right, but two people will get that.
Right.
So, no, in 2013, the Doobie Brothers played the State Fair here. And so I recorded some of it on my phone and I uploaded it to YouTube, and I'm pretty sure it's still on there.
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't think I have the raw files, so to speak, anymore.
Okay.
But yes, I got maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 songs from that show.
Very cool. I definitely have done it a few times, and it's something that I've sort of stopped doing it because I realized that it was sort of taking away from like me concentrating on the show. I didn't want people like, you know, putting their drink down on the table. I did bring my little Tascam, my digital recorder that you basically just, but yeah, I've recorded a handful of shows, and it's pretty easy to get in with these. They don't really, you know, I don't know, it sort of looks like a phone or whatever. So they don't really, sometimes it's, you know, the security guards don't know what they're looking for or whatever. Not that I'm saying go out and buy one of those and bootleg shows, but yeah, it's digital and you don't have to worry about flipping a tape or anything like that. I've recorded stuff with my iPhone too. I mean, that's you can get a somewhat good mono recording by doing it that way. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's again, and it was great to kind of come back and listen to the show and be like, oh, cool, this is what I saw. But it sort of took away from my focus, right? Where I was like, okay, I
Right.
got to try to get
Well,
whatever.
Yeah, you're concentrating on the levels and making sure you're staying away from people who are chit chatting in the middle of it and all that. So yeah, it does detract.
Right by the thing, and it's just like,
or worse, some guys singing along and completely drunk,
yeah,
screaming "Freebird" every 10 seconds.
Yeah. So let's show some records. I know you got some. Do you show me all the records you got? Or
no, Mark. No. All right. So let's start off with these aren't the bootlegs we're talking about.
So what do you got there?
I don't know. I bought these for $1 a piece at a record store.
So those just because are those like the Taiwan?
Probably so.
Okay.
Probably so. So yes, these are technically bootlegs, right?
Right. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. So no, for $1 a piece, I couldn't pass them up. But anyway, that's not what you're asking. So I've already showed you, of course, the Great White Wonder by Dylan. Led Zeppelin live on Blueberry Hill, which is amazing, of course. Let's go ahead and let's go with these in order of the band. All right. Here is another good one. I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure this is a boot on Blimp Records. It's got to be. So this is Led Zeppelin at the BBC. This is stuff that.
So let's take a quick pause right there. So talking about, okay, so you have. There's really like 3 different types of bootleg recordings. You have stuff that's like unreleased studio tracks or like demo tracks, right?
Sure.
You have live shows, and then you have like the unofficial kind of official stuff where you have either like a radio broadcast where in the 70s they'd say, oh, so and so is playing at whatever, turn your radio on, we're going to broadcast it. And
right.
you do that, or you have like the BBC sessions, right? You have those kind of things where
always good.
Yeah, like I've never. I think there's. I mean, the Who has one, the Yardbirds have one, the Beatles have one. Of course, Led Zeppelin has that. Is that the same as the official one? That
it is. Okay. It is. Like it's got the Girl I Love. She got long black wavy hair and Communication Breakdown and something else. Traveling Riverside Blues. So yeah, this is basically like a good chunk of disc 1 from the BBC sessions, like the official released one. This one's really cool because it's got, I'll show the record. I'll get into it. This is called Spare Parts. This is by Led Zeppelin.
I was going to say it was Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but it's
it does. It's an HR Geiger. So right, exactly. Yeah. So, but this one's really cool because you can see, I don't know how well it's going to show up, but it's got the shop in Germany.
Schleppers.
Exactly. So this one's really great on the Toasted label, so it's got to be good. That's probably the best way to listen to it too. But this is from 72, recorded in London with some spare parts, so you get a little bit of stuff from 72 and then some other things sprinkled in there, so it's really good. I did pay $50 for that back in April of 2008. So I can only imagine those were sitting there forever. And so for Christmas one year, I bought myself that, and I got this one, The Last Farewell.
Nice. Okay.
By Led Zeppelin as well. And this is from kind of their last handful of shows, I believe. There's no date or anything on it. But these are great. The sound quality on this one is really good. So, nice. And I've got a ton of Zeppelin on CD.
Would you say like probably Zeppelin? I would say is maybe number 2 or 3 as most bootlegged. I think we can agree. Beatles was probably number 1. Probably the Stones.
No, and then, I would put Zeppelin at number 1 just because there's a lot. Beatles, there's not a whole heck of a lot to pull from. But as far as Led Zeppelin, I mean, I've got a bunch of Led Zeppelin. I don't know, I don't want Eric Clapton watching this and getting upset and calling Jimmy Page, but I've got a ton of Led Zeppelin bootlegs. I've got entire runs and things like that. So, Zeppelin in 2008, I got super duper obsessed with Led Zeppelin and the bootleg stuff, and those zip files became my best friend. And Guitars 101 was a great website to get stuff off of, and various other kind of blogs. But Zeppelin became that band for me.
I think that's another thing that's worth mentioning is that if we look at sort of the evolution of things, right? So that, perhaps maybe in the 80s, of course we have the taping. And like I said, a lot of that was maybe more pushed towards the, hey, it's a live concert. Watch this live concert that somebody put a, VHS camera into. And then I think, throughout the 90s, I don't really feel like it didn't really feel like people were bootlegging up. Like it was, Napster was there, right? So it was sort of like the download.
Well, the internet killed it.
Right.
They killed it because you could find anything on there. And so the profitability of bootlegs was completely done and over with at that point.
But there was that little time frame that I would say, like from 2004 to like 2009, when you could go type in, Led Zeppelin, whatever, Blogspot, and it would take you out there and with like mega upload, and there was like that time where you could pretty much get anything, and then a lot of those things got shut down by the time it was 2012 2013. But and a lot of stuff has moved over to YouTube now, where it's it's on there, like if you want to hear it and things like that, where I think a lot of that is more like people will I can just stream it, right? They don't have to have a physical copy of it. So just taking a look at some of the comments here. So, Grateful Dead Fish. Yeah. Oldies Radio said 2008 is when I officially started my collecting career. RIP mega upload. So
yeah. That was right around the same time I did too. I got Metallica at Woodstock in like 99. I got that on CD, and it kind of stopped from there for a while until I really got like right around 2008 is really when I jumped on that. Led Zeppelin was that band that I latched on to. A couple other things about Led Zeppelin before I move on from them. This is so wonderful and so great, and I would recommend this to absolutely anybody who has the slightest interest in bootlegs. This is Led Zeppelin, the concert file. And this is, you can tell it's been well used and all that, highlighted and everything else. So I'm surprised the spine's still in shape. But this goes over, it'll go over a set list, and then it'll go over, if they've got a poster art to it, and they'll go over, entire liner notes as papers are falling out of this, writing papers. So it's really it's really great to have. And I've kind of put a dot. I don't know if you can see that. This is so nerdy, but I don't know if you can see that little dots I've put. Those are the shows I've actually have and things like that. So this is fantastic. I would highly recommend that if you're into Zeppelin, and certainly if you're into that, that's a great reference source. And this is Led Zeppelin 1975. This goes over their entire North America and beyond tour. So this is kind of good to tie in with some of those bootlegs that you're listening to. So
talk to me about, would you say, and I mean, it seems like you're obviously the expert on this subject, but would you say that every single Led Zeppelin show probably exists in bootleg form, or is there? I
would say 85%.
Okay, all right.
80, because you've got it. Their earliest one is Gonzalez in 68. That's the earliest one. That's I think at that point they were still known as the New Yardbirds. Okay. So that one's there. But once you get into 69 and 70, things are kind of spotty. Like the San Antonio show from 1970, I've been looking for it, and that's never surfaced. But I would say once you get to about 71 or 72, virtually every show is just about available, especially the 1980 shows that they did in Europe, because they were planning on recording a live album and releasing it. So you've got a ton of stuff there that are all soundboards recording. Somebody broke into Jimmy Page's house and ended up stealing those master tapes. So those are there. There's a ton of soundboard stuff from 75. There's a few from 77, but 1980, there's an absolute ton of soundboard, good quality recordings.
So we had what songs remain the same. When did the song remains the same? That came out in 78. Is that right?
70, I think 76 or 77
Okay.
that came out, but it was recorded in 73.
73, right. So you have, that sort of live document. And then really you don't have much until the BBC sessions. And then, of course, they did How the West Was Won, which you and I
An amazing set.
talked
Yeah.
about how that, that's sort of a checkpoint in your life. Like you definitely remember when that album came out.
Oh, I bought the CD and the DVD the same day.
Yeah.
Right after high school, man. I couldn't get to Walmart fast enough down the road and snag it.
Yeah. But I think that, they've sort of done, and I don't think there hasn't been any other live album since then, right? They really haven't.
Well, you've had Celebration Day.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, and then 2008 concert.
Right. Which, we're not talking, peak,
No, it's good,
class.
but I know
It's
what you
good,
mean.
right? Well, and you also have the, of course, there's been a few kind of offshoot things where, like what the Jimmy Page and Robert Plant's No Quarter album, right? Wasn't that the live? Is that the live one?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, it's
like
all right.
that sort of whatever. It is what it is. And then I forget, there was something else I was thinking about, and I completely lost my train of thought. Where Jimmy played
Black Crowes?
with the Black Crowes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a good one, man.
So yeah, I mean, it's it sounds like what could have come out in the 70s or whatever. So, oldies radio songs remain the same was one of my first ones in 2008. So good one to get.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that again, I think Led Zeppelin is one of those bands that are just like their music is top tier. So getting those bootlegs and getting that little bit of extra, is that's what's the beauty of bootlegs, right?
Can I go on about Led Zeppelin for
Go
just a
ahead.
little bit longer? All right.
Keep
So
talking.
these are some of my favorite shows. There's only 3 of them, but I could go on and on and on and on. And if you're interested in more, just leave a comment and I can give you some suggestions. All right. This is called Plant's Influenza. Apparently he had the flu during this, but this is in Madison Square Garden in February 12th of 75. This is really great. It's a 3-disc set, an amazing version of No Quarter, which is probably my favorite Led Zeppelin song. I'm sure I'll change that in the next hour, but that one is probably my favorite. It's definitely my most listened to one. This one probably everybody knows if you're into it. This is The Destroyer. This is Cleveland in 77. It's a soundboard recording. Really, really great stuff. Again, it's Zeppelin. It's on one of the good nights of that tour. And this is Berkeley in 71. It's titled Going to California.
Hold that back a little bit there. Oh, so that looks like that's one of the covers that they used on is that Trademark of Quality?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the cover is.
Okay.
These are covers that I've made for those. They're not anything that I've dumped money into.
Oh, I got it.
Except for this. I did find this when I was in high school. This was like in 2002 or 3. I got this. This is horrible recording, but this is 2/26, 1969, the Rock Pile in Canada. This is a rough listen, but it's pretty neat to listen to sometimes, I guess. But there is, if you ever hear a bad Zeppelin recording, just hunt around because you can find another show from that year, probably superb quality. But I think that's enough Led Zeppelin. But if you can't tell, yes, they're one of my all-time favorite bands, and there's tons of stuff to find out from them.
Yeah, no, and I think that again, it's one of those things that, like I said, they're a special band that really anything that pops up is worth checking out. And again, I think I speak for both of us that you and I definitely have a pretty good tolerance for like it has to be pretty terrible for me to just be like, yeah, I'm not I'm not going to listen to it. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's I remember when I worked at the record store, this was right before I sort of left, that some guy brought this thing in, and I want to say it was called the Kabbalah I think is what it was called. But it was like this. Are you familiar with this?
It's got all the Zoso symbols on it and all
Yeah,
that.
and it's like
Yeah.
it's it was like a multiple, the new there was a disc of like the new Yardbirds. I'll have to look it up and see what actually was on it, but I remember we were charging like $100 for it, and I was like, whoa,
Oh,
wow, that's so crazy.
yeah.
I don't know if we ever sold it, but there was a VHS tape that was in the middle of it too, so I'm not
Oh,
sure what all was on there. So let me. Do you mind if I show some stuff? I mean,
please. I got a stack too, but please, this is go for it, man. Let's see it.
we're probably gonna have a we're gonna probably have to stop here at 10 o'clock, but we'll maybe there'll be a part two of this. So I wanted to talk about this one specifically just because. So if we talk about that liver than you'll ever be, the Rolling Stones one, right? So
Mhm.
that actually came out. That came out. I want to say. I think the shows were in November or something like that. I think, and then like Get Your Yayas Out came out sometime in like 1970, soon after. But they sort of modeled that album after, and I think that they were sort of like, hey, there's been some, um, there's definitely some interest in it. Let's get this going. You know what I mean? Like let's make an album like that. Um, I have this one. I just want to show you this one here. This is Paul McCartney, Wings
Oh,
from the Wings. Okay. So not necessarily something that I would be like super excited about. I got a collection of records, and this was one of the ones that was in it. Um,
oh, very cool.
this is pressed up on red, white, and blue vinyl, and this is from the LA Forum, June 23rd, 1976. And so then this came out pretty much in July or soon after that, right? So you can see it says Special Bicentennial Collector's Edition, um, and it has a 3 disc, right? Um, and then this came out, which is,
Love that record.
but it's like the
Yeah.
same show, right? So the majority
Is
of
it
this is
really?
from the exact same show. So
I'll be.
Paul McCartney was going to do like a 2 disc thing, so they tried to make it like just this elaborate thing with all the posters and everything like that. So Wings Over America, yeah, that was that.
Very, very
So
cool.
um, yeah, man. So that was some good stuff here. So let me show you a couple more. Let's see. So, but the thing is, I do want to talk about sort of the how it's embraced. I feel like even though like you said that there's still like we feel like we're on the line of the illegal sort of thing. Do you remember for Record Store Day? You remember how this came out?
No.
So this was like they had like 3 different versions of this, and um, so this was the 130 gram basic vinyl, black vinyl original basement tape, right? Like so this is how it was. And then there was like I want to say there was another one that was like 180 gram or 160 gram or something. I don't think there was a difference in the track titles. I just went with the one was the more kind of cost effective one. But then Garth Hudson put a stamp and it was numbered to 2,500. So
Very, very cool.
uh,
No, I don't remember
so that
that.
was
That's
for
really
Record
neat,
Store
though.
Day. So this was like, again, this is Dylan's
Kind of
sort
a
of,
nod and a wink.
well, right, and it's in the same font and everything like that. So, and it's an actual stamp, like it was actually stamped. Um, let's see here. So of course, there's that. Grateful Dead. I mean, there's there's probably a bazillion. Here's the San Francisco one.
Oh, see, I don't have any Grateful Dead on vinyl bootleg wise.
This one is actually not in the
Well, I
not
take that back, but
right.
nothing like that.
This wasn't in the book in the which I was pretty like they mentioned it, but they didn't have like a picture of it or anything like
Oh
that. So
wow.
yeah,
What
there's trademark
do you
clause.
know what do you know what show that's from?
Sometime in 1970.
Okay.
I don't think that anybody really knows exactly because it's sort of like it's not like a continuous one show. It's like a song from this, a song from this, a song from this.
Okay.
So it's
All
a
right.
little bit, but you have Sunshine Daydream, Singing Back Home, Mama Tried. Uh, that's it for the other one. Um, that whole thing, New Potato Caboose, and then Born Cross-Eyed.
Very
So
cool.
you have all kinds of good stuff. And then of course we have there's Grateful Dead, like even in like the modern era. This is on Let 'Em Eat vinyl. Came out in 2015. I paid $28 for it. And this is a show, Saratoga, 1988. So
Very cool.
there's two of these. This is, I believe, the second set. I want to say, yeah. There's a sidelong Scarlet Fire. So how could you not listen to that one, right?
Right on.
So that was a pretty cool one. I also have this one. This is just outtakes from the Terrapin Station album, sort of them kind of getting it together. The Fire on the Mountain on here, this is okay. It's not the best. This is more to me like a sort of just somebody like, ha ha ha, I got this. They do, it's just called Inspiration at the time, right? Because it wasn't named Terrapin Station quite yet, even though they have, the Terrapin Station thing on it. So that kind of gives you an interesting sort of what time frame that it came out. So
very cool.
Yeah, so that's a fun one too. So what else do you got, Steve?
Okay. Have you heard of this record before? The Mass Marauders.
Yes.
Okay.
I have that.
So, okay, do you have it available?
Not up here now.
Okay. All right. So you know about this record. This was supposedly John Lennon, Jagger, McCartney, Dylan, Harrison, and Starr all on one record. Well, it's not. It's just a bunch of dudes who are doing their level best to sound like them. So that's kind of fun.
Okay.
Songs like well, a lot of these I can't even say over here. This is a child friendly show, right?
Right.
So anyway, but yeah, that one's fun. I'm just gonna kind of go rapid fire here. I don't want to hog the whole thing. I know you have this one as well, right? Tales from the Who.
I forgot to pull that one out. Yes.
So this is amazing from '73. This is this is the best bootleg cover. This is the ruler of all bootleg covers.
Yep.
Is that one? That's amazing. Of course, you got the back cover as well. So that's not only got an amazing. It could sound like garbage, and I would still praise this just for the cover alone. But luckily, it's a good soundboard recording too from the Quadrophenia tour.
It's so funny because it's like I'm remembering all these albums now that I was like, okay, I didn't pull that out. So we may need to do like a part 2, or maybe I'll just like show. I think it's funny because it's like the majority of, and you know this too, the majority of the records I listen to now are just like that's what I like. That's what that's what I've been all about. So Craig said he's been trying to find that Who boot for a while. If we see one. We'll pick one up for you, Craig, because
we'll make it happen.
Yeah, it's a pretty common. I would say that's a pretty common. Would you say that's a pretty common one?
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to find, sure. Yeah. So, Jaguar, anyone? This is Who. This is all outtakes. Okay. It's 2 discs of all outtakes and things like that. It's like,
is that on Corny? Is that the one on
Phoenix?
Okay.
Phoenix. So it's got like Early Morning, Cold Taxi, Jaguar, the studio version of Summertime Blues, Wasp Man, The Relay. This is The Last Time. So it's all studio stuff that at the time was unreleased. Here's a good one: Jimi Hendrix at the LA Forum.
Okay, there you go. I think that's another trademark or quality one, right? I think so.
$6. So
see, that's what we were talking about. So, we were talking about like how much these records were. And like a normal record back then was maybe $2.50, $3, $3.50, $4. So
yeah. So it's a Room Full of Mirrors. Side 2 is 20 minutes long.
Since we're talking about Hendrix, I have
let's see yours.
The Lord of the Strings. This is the only Hendrix one I have, but this is the.
Oh, that's the only one I've got.
This is the complete. This is the complete Woodstock one, and it also has like the 2 tracks that I think is it Billy Cox is the guy. He sang on 2 songs during Woodstock, and they've sort of been like. They kind of erased those from history. Like when the Hendrix Woodstock CD came out, they weren't on there. I think it has to do with, him getting royalties for it and things like that. But they're on.
Oh wow!
Those ones are on here. So I don't know what songs they are offhand. I can't remember.
I'll do a few more. Let's do with Dylan next. So I've already showed The Great White Wonder. How about Isle of Wight?
Oh, nice. Okay.
Gosh, trying to
just hold it on your chest. Hold it to your chest. There you go.
Right there. There you go.
Yep.
So
is that the Who?
Yeah.
And that's
it's Dylan.
Oh, Dylan. Oh, Dylan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So there's that. This one's really good. This is a great cover. This is a Bob Dylan, Melbourne, Australia. The enigmatic story of a boy and his dog.
Huh. I've never seen that before.
This is again, this is soundboard stuff that was recorded in '66 in Australia. Fourth time around, Visions of Johanna, then side 2. It's all over now in Desolation Row. So it's short, but it's great. And
now, is
the
that,
cover
is that
like
acoustic? That's acoustic stuff.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah,
all right.
yeah, and then for the electric stuff of his '66
okay.
tour, I'm sure you know this record, Royal Albert Hall '66.
Nice.
So I don't believe you. This is all.
You're a liar.
Opens with exactly. Tell Me Mama and close with Like a Rolling Stone. You know this, right? Everybody knows this record. So
which
but that's
was officially released on Bootleg Series Volume 4, right?
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it fourth one?
Fourth.
But yes, this has been officially released.
Yeah.
So do you want to go? I got a few more.
Yeah.
Or do you just want me to power through?
No, I'll show you. I have some. I know we haven't really talked about. Here's one from Pink Floyd. This is one of my favorites.
Oh,
The Celebration of the Comet. I sent you that Joey Ramone picture, and this was in there. This is basically. I want to say this is a pretty circulated show. Is it Seattle? I want to say. But they
72.
Yeah, they're doing the full Dark Side of the Moon album.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. I mean, the quality's has its moments, but yeah, it's pretty good, and it's on the Amazing Corny Phone label, which I think was one of the guys that did trademark of quality as well too. He sort of like did an offshoot thing. Here's the Amazing Corny Phone, another one. This is from the Stones. Bed Springs Sympathy. Gimme Shelter, Tumbling Dice, Brown Sugar, Heartbreaker, Honky Tonk Women, Midnight Rambler, On Down the Line, Street Fighting Man. I haven't listened to this in a while, so I'm not sure if it's. I don't know if it's a live one or not. It's been a while since I've.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's a '73 show.
Let me see. Tape was, of course, supplied and edited. It doesn't really say. Let's all get together and buy Keith some teeth, okay? Come on. Presented in stereo. So, yeah, I haven't listened to that one in a bit. That was $11.
Score.
This one is. This is more like 80s, like sort of from the. What is that? Like the
81 tour?
81, yeah. Let It Rock, All Down the Line, Whip Comes Down, Just My Imagination, Beast of Burden, Sweet Little 16, Respectable, Faraway Eyes, Love in Vain, Happy. So that one's a fun one. This was $6 for that one.
Wow.
Let's see here.
I was thinking a little TNA where he goes, Sometimes I'll just do that.
This is a fun one too. I think you have this.
I got that one too. Yeah. No, I've got it on vinyl right over there. I'm looking at it.
You got it's the earmark one. Is that it? Is this
pretty sure I can. No, I've got that on CD, but I've got the other one. They've released in Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Okay. All right.
So
you can see how they kind of they put like the drink.
Yes.
On it to make it look. It's funny because it's like they that there's some of these releases that they're they want it to be. It's almost like it's an authentic document, right? So, yeah. Let's show a couple more here, and then we'll call it a night. What do you say?
Let's do that.
Oh, you want me to keep showing?
Oh, you want me?
Here, I'll show you. This is the first bootleg that I ever got.
Okay.
It's a Rolling Stones one. It's called Claudine.
Claudine's back in jail again.
Yeah. Dead Spider Records. Pretty much stuff from When the Whip Comes Down, Beast of Burden, Shattered. They did a cover of The Harder They Come. So I think it's like 70, like 78, 79, 80, right around in that time frame. So this cost me 15 smackers back in the day. But that was one of the first ones that I ever bought. What else?
Very cool. All right, this was the first bootleg I ever bought on vinyl, at least the Beatles mag track. So you familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
So this is colored vinyl. You've got the yellow vinyl, and you've got the second disc is orange, and basically what this is this is the Let It Be recording sessions right there.
Okay.
They're a dime a dozen. You can find these pretty much all over the place. Jealous Guy shall be released. She came in through the bathroom window. I'm sure Shaking in the 60s is on here. Polythene Pam, so that one's on there. This one's really cool. The Beatles, a complete Christmas collection.
Oh, nice. I wish I had that.
So
that's one that I've been on the lookout for.
$20.
I know that they've released that in quite a few different sort of configurations. So,
Come Back. You familiar with that, of course? Yep. And then I've got this one that somebody decided to put their stickers all over.
Nice.
So look. So
that's cool. Those are the those Ed Hardy or is Ed Hardy? No, what's
I'm not sure what these are.
Ed Big Daddy Roth, I think is what that is. Yeah.
So, but those and all right, I'll wrap it up here. So we've got Donovan, the Reedy River.
Oh, so that's a trademark quality. Yep.
It is on green vinyl. Genesis. Jethro Tull. Oh my God. Yeah. So, and Genesis is from their 77 tour. So, and a couple more, and then I'll stop. I promise. The Kinks. This is Survivors. This is from 73, I think. 73, I believe, is what the show is. So there's that, and this was my first Discogs purchase. I was just beside myself because this is one that I've wanted forever and a day. Was the MC5 live in '72 Kick Copenhagen? This is so great. It's the MC2 realistically, but that was one that I was super excited to finally get, and I enjoyed it. And the last one I'm going to show you is Pink Floyd, Take Up Thy Stethoscope. You'll recognize the song. This is from Columbia, recorded at the Township Auditorium in 72. And there's a couple of reasons why I like this. Not because the recording's great, because it's not. But there's these two guys behind the recorder who are shouting out. At the time, this is in 72, so this is pre-Dark Side, that shouting out the most obscure Pink Floyd songs. And they're doing that through the entire concert. And during a break in the middle of Dark Side, one of the guys goes, "All right, ready?" He goes, "All right, 1, 2, 3," and they shout, "Take up thy stethoscope and walk." And a couple of people laugh and get it and things like that. And of course, the band goes into whatever the next tune on Dark Side they were playing. But that's a fun one just for that. And that's another reason why I like bootlegs, is for little things like that. Like, I've heard people have arguments on bootlegs and things like that about different things. And that one's really neat, really special just because of that. And you've got these two knuckleheads that at 72 were, obsessed with Pink Floyd, more or less, right? And we're really hoping to hear some of the back catalog stuff. And so I think that's really, really interesting. And that's just kind of charming. To be perfectly honest, there's a charm to that kind of stuff, and I think that's what is another thing that keeps bringing me back to boots.
Yeah, and I think that especially too, if you're like you said, you can collect a certain, hey, here's a certain city that they played. If you wanna just buy those records, you can do something like that. That's kind of the beauty of it, and but it's still it's still alive and well. I think that, I just wanted to kind of close tonight with just talking about, you and I frequent a certain website where there is that tap is, that tap is always open. If you care to know about it, you can shoot me a message.
Either one of us,
and we'll tell you about it. But that stuff never ends, and that's some of the stuff I've been listening to. I wanted to show this one too. The Nice live in Sweden. So even though this is
nice, I need to get that.
Even though this is a bootleg, I mean, the packaging is pretty fantastic and everything like that. There is vinyl, or you can get it on CD. So sometimes I think the CD is kind of the safe way to go. Where if you want to just kind of spend $6 on something, you can get a CD of it. And you don't have to spend the $20 on the vinyl that could be of questionable quality. So also listening to John Mayall live at the Marquee.
Turning Point stuff, right?
Yeah, this is the Turning Point.
Yeah, love that.
After he came back to the UK, or it might have been before. I can't remember offhand where it kind of lines up. But it's a great show, and that huge John Mayall box set that came out I think it was 2020, 2021. I can't remember. Maybe that was like a year ago at this point. I can't. My years are all fading together. But he put like five or
I hear
six
you.
shows, and they were pretty terrible. I mean, it was we're
Quality
sort of,
wise,
yeah,
really.
we're pretty spoiled with, you could tell it was a mono, maybe just pointing at the PA with the microphone kind of thing. It wasn't patched into a soundboard or anything like that.
Mm.
But it was good enough for John to release on a box set. So, couple more things. I'm going to show like two more things, just to kind of like show you, like, so it's not all just like a white a white thing with like a piece of paper on it. Like, this is another one that's pretty fantastic. Like, look at what that looks like, right? So that's the Agora Ballroom in Cleveland. So this was an FM broadcast. Most of these labels that do it now they they're in the UK, so the copyrights are a little bit different than they are in the United States, where if it was recorded and released over the radio, then they can release it, right? No, anybody owns that. The artist doesn't own it, and then of course they just get imported back into the United States. So this was on the Mind Control label, which is they definitely put out a lot of stuff. So again, really fun stuff if you're into that kind of thing. Um, One other one that I wanted to show, and this has been released quite a few times, but Fleetwood Mac Boston. This is volume one. There's three different volumes of this, and there is a little box set that compiles it all. This is from the Boston Tea Party, and they're just amazing shows. They were super hot. Um, I don't know necessarily, Steve, you and I have talked about, collecting complete shows on
Mm.
vinyl. Definitely is not necessarily the most cost effective or just user friendly thing to do.
Yeah.
So sometimes, I only have volume one of this, and I listen to it quite a bit, and it kind of
When was that? 69?
either 69 or 70. Yeah, it was 70.
What
May
what was the
6th,
lineup with that?
6th and 7th of 70. So Peter Green, John McVie, Mick
Okay.
Fleetwood, Danny Carwin, and what's the other guy's name? Jeremy Spencer. So like
Okay.
the classic Peter Green, lineup or whatever. But this is like right around the time when Then Play On came out. So definitely a big fan of that. And let me show you some more fun ones. I know that you guys will enjoy these. Um, Steve, you have this, right?
I was going to show that, but I figured you would. So
There you go. The Zappa Mothers of Invention. This is what, Holland?
yes.
Yes, Holland, 1970. Um, this was one that, like, I'm a big Stone Temple Pilots fan, kind of. So
Okay.
enough that I enjoy their music. But this is the Centrum, Worcester, Massachusetts. So this was right after the Purple album came out. It's just a really cool collection. I think there's a video. There's official. This is kind of taken from the video rip of that. They ripped from the audio. Um, let's see. Here's another one from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Ooh, look at
Grateful
that.
Dead. This is 1988. Can't go wrong with that stuff. So the Scandinavian Broadcast, 1969, Fleetwood Mac.
Very, very cool.
This is good stuff. Two records. Actually, it's only three. The fourth side's etched. That's not a joke this time. It's only three sides. So here you go. Some more BBC sessions with Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. I love this stuff, man.
Very
I can't
cool.
get enough. This one has some pitch quality issues. It's definitely pitched down, so you have to kind of pitch it up a little bit. I don't know if they did that just to squeeze it on the record or whatever, but yeah. 1969, Soft Machine.
Soft Machine. Ooh.
This is one you don't normally see, right? There's not really
No.
too many live at the Paradiso.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Not. I mean, I'm not the biggest Soft Machine fan, but it's. I think when Bo came over and visited, we were listening to this. And the last one I'll show you for the night, because Steve, I know you were like, you got to get that. Cannes,
Yes.
Rock Blast, Germany, 1970. So, yeah, this is absolutely amazing. So, good stuff.
Very cool.
All right. So, thanks for watching, y'all. Let's see.
Yeah.
Boston Tea Party on the Flick Disc label. I hope we showed some stuff that kind of got everybody excited about bootlegs and all that. So definitely some choice stuff. So that's all I got, Steve.
That's
It was a whirlwind.
I got other stuff, but we can
Yes,
save that for.
there's definitely stuff that I forgot to show, but yeah, thanks for watching, and I guess we'll see you in the new year. So
Next year.
happy new
So
year,
everybody,
to you.
be safe. Hope 2022 is a good one. Yeah.
Yep. We'll see y'all guys later. So take care.
Sports
Thanks for
truly.
watching. Sports truly, you all. See ya.